Hello and welcome to the new episode of Spookier Times, a podcast of horror, gothic, and weird fiction across media. I'm your host, Robert J. Gannon, and you can find me there at all social media. Today, we're looking at the growing world of asymmetrical online multiplayer horror games. I previously discussed Dead by Daylight on this podcast, and it is still the breakout hit of this genre. The 4v1 asymmetrical horror game will soon be celebrating its 5th anniversary with a special Resident Evil collaboration. This is the game that has set the template for so many other multiplayer horror games since. A team of 4 survivors attempt to complete 5 generators, power up the exit gates, and leave before a killer can find them and hook them on a meat hook, Texas Chainsaw Massacre style, 3 times to sacrifice them to the entity. The game currently has 25 survivors and 23 killers, ranging from original characters inspired by plagues, war, and even K-pop to licensed characters pulled from Halloween, Saw, and Stranger Things. Dead by Daylight can be a lot of fun, and Behavior Interactive are constantly trying new things to keep the game fresh. Unfortunately, what started as a tiny indie game with no expectations for international success has turned into one of the most popular multiplayer games on the market. The original coding in the game was not the most efficient, so every new update tends to break sound, environments, character abilities, and even core gameplay mechanics, as it brings in that new in-demand set of survivors and killers. This does leave an opening in the market for perhaps a more experienced development team to build a similar multiplayer horror game with a stronger foundation that won't break in every update. DVD competitors are not new. Last year, The Nightmare, Hide or Die, and Soul at Stake all found some foothold in the market at some point. However, they failed to maintain a large audience and can be difficult to find a match in now. This is not a reflection of the quality of the games themselves, but how the gaming market reacted to them. Believe me, each of these titles had massive traction on Twitch and were being debated as DVD killers. Perhaps that's the big issue with so many competitors before now. They did seem to set out to take down the top game in the genre rather than create a new experience. There's a way to take lessons from the leader and do something new and engaging. I see a lot of potential in 2 newer offerings from established indie devs. Home Sweet Home Survive and Dark Deception, Monsters and Mortals. Home Sweet Home is an indie horror game from Thailand developed by YGG Drazzle Group. It is a very well-received survival horror game, heavily based in Thai folklore. For many gamers, this was their first introduction to this particular style of horror, and the game has had great staying power since its release in 2017. In Home Sweet Home, Tim and Jane are married. Jane goes missing. Tim cannot find her and becomes an alcoholic out of grief and frustration. He wakes up one day in a nightmare world filled with all the ghosts and demons of folklore, including a killer schoolgirl named Belle who attacks her rivals with a retractable craft knife. Tim has to engage with folklore and religious practices to stay safe and exorcise the specters. Home Sweet Home Survive is a new asymmetrical horror game built on this world. This time, the survivors were all in the same bus crash, landing them in the world of the specters, various ghosts, demons, and mythological creatures hell-bent on destroying them. The team of 4 survivors had to find incense and nails to start a prayer ritual at 3 of the 4 altars scattered across the map. Then, they can pray to release the spirit of the specter. The specter can go invisible and use a special power to murder the survivors. Survivors can be resurrected through a different prayer ritual if someone can gather their soul and complete it in 2 minutes. Otherwise, they are dead forever. The specter wins if they sacrifice all 4 survivors. The survivors win if they can kill the final form of the killer or escape the trial. This is the new It game on Twitch right now, and I've had a ton of fun with it. The game got over its growing pains pretty quickly, investing in more global servers so the growing markets outside of Thailand could have a better gaming experience. The game is currently in early access and just added the 3rd killer, the Nymph, to its lineup. Despite only having 2 maps, 3 killers, and 5 survivors so far, the game has great replay value. They need to be careful with their monetization scheme, as the loot pack of the game, the Clay Pot, is very pricey for an early access title. It's also very grind heavy to unlock additional killers, survivors, and perks, unless you want to just spend money. There is a lot of potential here if they maintain a balance between being able to unlock new items with gameplay and being able to pay to win, in a sense. Dark Deception is a series of horror games from developer Glowstick Entertainment. During a break in production for the new game, a smaller group of developers created the multiplayer horror game Monsters and Mortals. What started with characters from the previous and upcoming games quickly turned into a showcase of modern horror, picking up licensing deals with Monstrum, Silent Hill, and more games to be announced. In Dark Deception, Doug Bowser somehow finds himself trapped in the ballroom of Helen Bierce. She informs him that he can only return to the world of the living if he completes horrific trials set up by a demonic figure known as Malik. The setting and monsters in each trial is different, but the objective is the same: collect soul shards to escape. Dark Deception, Monsters and Mortals is a 4-person horror party game inspired by the world of Dark Deception. You go into randomly selected maze-based matches, playing as your choice of monster or mortal character, collecting soul shards and battling to the death. Maze Escape is an asymmetrical game where one monster fights with a boss against 3 mortals collecting soul shards. Shard Mayhem is a monster-only mode where players compete to earn the most shards in a timed match. Soul Collection starts as a mortals-only mode. Each round, one mortal is claimed by Malik and becomes a member of his monster army. I actually have more fun playing Monsters and Mortals than I do playing DBD or Home Sweet Home Survive right now. It's a very different experience. It's spooky first-person Pac-Man with a horror setting and combat. Admittedly, the player base is small. I see the same players in lobbies all the time and can struggle to find matches during off-peak hours. The leveling system is also based entirely on winning matches, so it's possible to never receive any experience and level up if you just don't come out on top in the end. There are in-game transactions, but they feel more in line with other similar multiplayer games on the market. The wide variety of characters, each with their own special abilities and sound design, make this a lot of fun. The waves of NPCs that come in and cause havoc throughout the matches keep you on your toes and add some genuinely scary moments to the mix. They have a lot of content licenses set up and ready to announce in the near future, including a new DLC coming this month featuring 3 UK-based creators who have been making videos about the game. This may seem odd, but the original batch of survivors also feature characters inspired by real-life people, the developers. Whether Home Sweet Home Survive and Dark Deception, Monsters and Mortals have staying power has yet to be seen. I know that I've played them a lot more than similar multiplayer horror games in the past, and I know I'm not alone in that. That's it for this episode of Spookier Times. I'm your host, Robert J. Gannon, and you can find me at Robert J. Gannon on all social media. Visit sketchingdetails.com for 5 new articles every week. Check out my books in the link below, including my new free nonfiction collection, SD Media Volume 1, January to March 2021, and check out the new art and apparel store at the Etsy link. Until next time, check out some horror games. Maybe I'll see you in the lobby.